It's the dreamscape.
Welcome back, dreamers, to Indie Synergy Exchange, your podcast for all things indie art and creation. We are the indie podcast introducing you to pretty much all things indie from a wide variety. We're here to show you what the indie scene has to offer. I am your host, Tanner Giese, also known as Number 2 Pencil Man and owner of Tanner's Tales Entertainment. And tonight I am joined by my lovely co-host, Rachel, aka Andromeda. She is a musician, poet, author. The list goes on and on because she's a multi-creative. And tonight we are joined by John of Pick Up the Sword Studio. John, we're so excited to have you. Before we get started, we are going to do a little promo and then I'll turn it over to you. But yeah, if you're enjoying Indie Synergy Exchange, please give us a like, interact with our videos, subscribe to the channel, helps us grow, build this platform for more indie creators so we can introduce you to even more of what the indie universe has to offer. So definitely, please help us support the channel. And yeah, we're on YouTube and we're building up our audio platforms as well. Once we have a nice logo, we'll be up and updated and up to date on all that. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for your support. Check us out. Check out all the other videos that we've done because we have 17 other episodes before this one, and pretty much all of them have a different indie creator, from clowns to doctors of psychology to other comic book creators to authors, poets. The list goes on and on. Pretty much anything that can be done independently, we had a guest on of the podcast. So don't
Hi, my
forget
name
to
is
check out
William
those.
Osachuk,
And
and I
yeah,
am
let's
the
get started
owner
with the
and
episode.
founder
So,
of Pick Up the Sword
John,
Studio and the creator
introduce
of
yourself.
the
Tell us
epic
who you
fantasy
are
saga
and
Trials
what
of
you
Gods
do.
and Men. And my first book, which I am the writer of, is titled Inker, and it is the introduction to the Trials of Gods and Men epic fantasy saga. And it really serves as a key to the reader's entrance into that world that I've spent the last 30 plus years developing. And if, in all honesty, it's really my whole life. This is really my magnum opus of creativity. I've always loved epic fantasy, especially long, big stories. Like if I'm playing a video game, I really hope it's like a big open world, like say a Skyrim, or recently I started playing Hogwarts Legacy a little bit, and that is right up my alley. There's just running around, having fun, like immersing yourself in that world. Um, my son and I really both enjoy the like the Star Wars Survivor games, or Jedi Survivor, excuse me, where you just get to go and be like the thing from the movie or the story that you love. So I'm hoping that my story that I've spent this long creating is something that will not necessarily inspire, but certainly entertain people and give them an outlet to escape the real world for a little while. And this first book, Inker, is 72 pages, and it's fully colored and also 100% complete. The final edits have been sent back to my letterer. The official video, which is going to be launching soon on my Fund My Comic campaign, is completed. And yeah, it's just a really fun adventure. Well, it's a dark adventure. It was fun making it. I should be clear. The story itself is complicated, and the people who've read it have enjoyed it, but they have said that it's something that you can definitely go back and read again, and you're going to pick up on little things. And I tried to do my best to make something like that because I enjoy something that can be enjoyed over and over again. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It takes place in the
Yeah,
Trials of Gods and Men world.
it's
The
really important, I
whole
think, especially for a
the
like.
world
Is it
itself
a
is
standalone
huge,
story?
as is like the mythology and the history that I've developed for it. But this book, the reason I chose it was because of its almost unique nature of being a standalone story. For whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason, my brain is always geared towards making big, long, kind of like almost like manga style stories that go on and on and on and on. Because like I said, I love that. But this one, Inker, and specifically the hero Kintaro the Inker, is
Mhm.
a
Mm-hmm.
one shot story that takes place in the city of Cloud Peak, which is the capital of the Empire of Cloud Peak, which is the predominant power in the world. And if you could imagine, like Imperial Rome or ancient Rome with a fusion of feudal Japan, that's the vibe of the Empire, and that's explored a little bit in Anchor, but really it'd be zeroing on him and the
Yeah, that's
story, because I often what happens when I'm trying
interesting.
to tell people about the story is I kind of just like open the floodgates to hell, and
Mm-hmm.
the demons start pouring out, and people get overwhelmed with the information overload that I'm providing them. So I tried really hard on this story to like I planted a lot of seeds that will be explored in future stories of world building, whether it's gods or politics or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be. But for Anchor, it's very outside of his story, which we dig deep on. The rest of the world is just held up slightly so that you see it. And yeah, the city of Cloud Peak is amazing. I've I've invested so much time into creating it. It's inspired by our own world a lot. But so if you could imagine Mount Everest, but twice the height of Everest, so that it's up actually like up in the peak would be in the stratosphere of the planet, and it's instead of being in the middle of the continent like of
Mhm.
northern India or like south of China,
Nice.
it's on the ocean. So you have this whole
Mhm.
seaside city at the base of this huge mountain, and the city itself is composed of 7 districts. And the major
Oh,
inspirations
cool.
from uh, our world that I can relate to the city of Cloud Peak is
Pretty cool.
the Seven Hills district is directly inspired by ancient Rome, when like Rome was a republic and kind of at the height of its glory, because Rome is built on 7 hills and it was quite famous for that. There's another district called the Noble Castles District, and as an homage to the Roman Empire, it's inspired heavily by Constantinople,
Yeah.
aka Istanbul,
Mhm.
in the present day. My wife and I honeymooned in Turkey, so we spent a week in Istanbul, and it's an amazing city to explore, and the whole country was
Oh,
fascinating.
wow.
So that's close to my heart. And then the part of the story that Inker takes
Cool.
place a lot in is the canals district of Cloud Peak, and
Mhm.
that's inspired by Venice.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's a holy city, because I've invested. Yeah, I'm working on the map right now, but I'm not an artist, so I'm going to be
Mhm.
commissioning someone to produce a city map
Mm.
Wow.
that will be
That sounds
available at some
great.
point. But everybody is so expensive when you're working with artists, so I need to sell some copies before I start that next endeavor. My wife has forbid me from spending more money on this project
Wow.
before I start selling some books, which is fair. But the
Yeah.
four remaining
Mm.
districts
Yeah.
are the Holy City, which also is explored in Inker, and that's called Theravasa, and it's my own interpretation of like the Vatican City, but it's all built around this mount, like this huge mountain, right? And then the other three districts are the Rice Bowl Valley, which is this
Yeah.
isolated valley that is uh, almost like a
Mm-hmm.
super powered uh, farmland, but it's totally protected in the city, so the city cannot be besieged. because it has access to this constant food source. And there's some magic involved in that, but that will be explored in a different book. And then there's
Uh,
the Forbidden City or the Hidden City, which is where the government rules the empire from. And then we also have
mhm.
uh, the imperial harbor where all the trade goes through. It's kind of inspired by the East India Trading Company,
Interesting.
but I call it the Cloud Peak Trading Company. And then I think that's all. Yes, that's all of them. So a lot of depth. If you're a fan of history, there will be little nuggets where you think, well, that's really a
Oh,
lot like X, Y, or Z in our
that's
own
really
world, and
cool.
it's probably inspired by that.
Yeah.
And that's just the city.
Hmm. That's awesome.
Wow. That is quite an expansive world that you are showing off in just a yeah, and you probably built way more beyond the city. So, how did you condense like a huge world into like this is your debut. Like how are you even tackling like just showing off a window of this massive world through your writing?
Well,
Like
to answer the
you are
first part
clearly
of
a world
that
builder.
is
How are you like
there has been a
tackling
lot
all
of
this and what are your plans
so
beyond
that
just
I
this
didn't get
debut
overwhelmed with
book?
trying to show the city off.
That's a good question.
Prone in a lot of my stories of trying to make the star, and when you're writing a story versus say an atlas of the world, you want the
Mhm.
story and the characters to be the star, and the setting will speak for itself.
Hmm.
But I feel like, especially with a graphic novel, the artists did a lot of the heavy lifting. So I would send them shots of like cityscapes or architecture and say, like, just infuse this in your style in the background, which they did incredibly well. So it's different from writing prose or a novel where I need to use some words to describe the setting. Whereas in this case,
Mhm.
it was very easy to just provide
Yeah.
some images for the artist. And like I said, a lot of pruning, killing my darlings, so to speak, so that the story and Kintaro himself was the star. This book has had over 35 edits performed
Hmm.
on it. So it's been a real passion, and I've invested a lot of time in it. It's been 18 months from start to finish, from the initial
Wow.
concepts and concept art
Wow.
being done to my cover, which is the painting behind me. That's Kintaro with the villain in the foreground. That's by Skunk Artworks. You can
Nice.
find
Wow.
him on Instagram and Twitter. He's a phenomenal indie artist, and
Oh, wow.
in like 5 more years, he's going to be
Nice.
incredibly well known, I expect. But the second part, what was the second aspect of your question outside of the world building?
Hmm.
Mm, yes. So that,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So
like
that's
how
another great point.
beyond the debut
There are
book,
going to be
like
some
how do you
other
plan to expand
graphic
that
novels,
universe that you've already
but
created,
the
like
immediate plan
in the future
is to
series?
be releasing novel style books. But what I'm planning on doing, and this is especially important for people who take advantage of the offer on Fund My Comic currently, I'm going to be doing a manga style release schedule where I'm releasing a chapter or a couple of chapters every month. And that's going to be able to be located on my Substack, which isn't ready to go yet because I'm focused on um, promotion of the book over the summertime, and I'll be building up the Substack page so that people who back are going to have they'll have access to the paywall or behind the paywall for the future stories. And the last 2 pages of Inker lead into where the story will transition to, and that's going to be leaving
Hmm.
the great city of Cloud Peak, and is going to be going off into the wild places of the world. One of my I don't know if it's a philosophy or how I frame it, but I like to explore. I'm trying to explore the dichotomy between civilization and the wild. So in the world, there's like, if you look back on like the Greek city states, the the um the cities were full of people, which caused their own problems. But when you left the city, that's when you got into the places where the gods lived, and there was monsters and all these other things that were very, very dangerous. So in Inker, we're exploring the city and civilization while still dealing with some supernatural aspects, which are a lot of fun. And then the future project will be transitioning into those wild places, and eventually those two concepts of civilization and wild
Mm-hmm.
will collide, and that's when things are really going to take off.
That's really cool.
That's really awesome. Go for it,
I'm
Rachel.
curious because you've mentioned supernatural and you've mentioned magic. How much is the supernatural and the magical realm going to be in these books? I mean, would you call it a fantasy series, or would you sci-fi? Like what's your genre, and how much does magic play into it?
Comics, but
Well,
plays yeah, magic plays a huge role in the uh, in my story. That's when I've read fantasy. The stories I've found most compelling are stories that have like a unique magic in the world. There's the classic kind of Dungeons
Mm-hmm.
and Dragons, fireballs and teleport and whatnot, which is fun. But one author
nice.
I read, her name was Robin Hobb. She uh, she had these two magic systems. There was what they called the wit, was a person's ability to form a magical bond with an animal, and it was a.
Huh.
And then she also had, I forget the other. It'll come back to me, but it's almost like like not telekinesis, but the ability to like manipulate people's minds and to do different things like that. And that was viewed as like a magic
Tell.
of the royalty. And the other one, the
Oh,
wit,
cool.
Hmm.
the wit was viewed as like a dark magic where people would be murdered if it was discovered that they were
Mm-hmm.
working this like beast magic. So of course the protagonist of the story, Fitz Chivalry Farseer, has both. The skill. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that's what it was called. It was
Sounds
called the
so
skill.
cool.
Yeah, she's written
Okay.
a crazy amount of books. She actually came out at the same time that George R. R. Martin was producing A Song of Ice and Fire,
Oh, yeah.
and I suspect
Mm-hmm.
that he stole the wit from her. He's quite
Oh,
Interesting.
notorious for poaching ideas from other creators, and like
Wow.
Jon Snow and the Starks with their wolves is really witty.
Uh-huh.
Pardon the pun. Um, but yes, magic
Mm-hmm.
is huge. In this book, there's there's magic in the world, and then there's like the individual's magic. So Kentaro, the inker, he has this secret knowledge of, it's called Irizumi in the story, and it's the crafting of arcane tattoos. But the true secret of it is
Mm-hmm.
crafting arcane ink that he then tattoos into the individuals. So, for example, it's tough to
Huh.
see on the painting behind me, but he's covered in like green dragon scales, and those that
Nice.
ink is derived from true dragon scale ink. So it provides him amazing
That's awesome.
protection, and then he can tattoo different inks into people that will allow them to summon creatures from their flesh to defend them,
Mm-hmm.
or the sky's the limit, really. But I can't explore it too
Oh,
much
that's awesome.
in one book. But then outside of that, I
Mm-hmm.
really lean into several forms of different kind of systems of magic. So there's kind of your classic arcane magic where you study and you read books, or perhaps you're working with devils or demons or like otherworldly powers that are teaching you secrets of the universe. And then you have divine magic, which would be,
Mm-hmm.
prayer and ritual. And then obviously like dark magic, so like human sacrifice or some form of sacrifice to gain what you want. Shamanistic magic, that's going to be really explored, that shamanistic concept of magic in the next project, because from the city we're going to go to an incredible tribal culture story, and that is
Mm.
actually going to that is called the 13 tribes, and our protagonist will be from one of those 13, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
Kintaro, and he's like he's a devotee to um, one of the divine powers of the world, and the knowledge of this secret tattoo art is a major driver of the overall story of Inker. But yes, magic is
That
very
sounds so
important.
cool.
Yeah.
There's so many
That
great.
is really sounds very interesting.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. There's so many great creators out there that produce stories with unique magic, and
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the things that made it such a long process for me to finally create my own story, because I wanted to create things that were different and would stand out from the crowd. And I feel that Inker will succeed in doing that as a first story.
Yeah. Is that
And
what
then
we're
here
looking
we
at right
have the
now? Is this like what it's gonna look like? Because that's really amazing artwork.
so this is the first 9 pages of the book. It's what they call an ash can,
Oh
or
wow.
it's kind of like a preview book for a graphic novel. So this launches the story, and this is
Wow.
all the black and white art is done by an artist named Rich Ayala. He's a phenomenal talent. He's
Uh-huh.
an indie creator that is doing his own stuff, obviously. And then it's colored by Oliver Ark, who has been doing comics for over 20 years. And then his brother did the letters. They're both from Mexico. They
Wow.
live Juarez, I think they're just the other side of the border. And then Rich is in the
Okay.
United States, but he's of Latino ancestry. The only problem, I shouldn't even say a problem. Rich signed on to do the entire book, but then he got married and his life became incredibly busy, and he had to step away.
Yeah.
So I
Mm.
had another artist come in to do the remaining 63 pages, and his name is Juan Sanabria, and he's from Bolivia, and he's super talented. And then if you just pause there for a second, that that page up above where you have Kentaro with his shirt off is that's 2 pages. That's a double splash, and then this is all. Yeah, there you go.
That's so
That's
cool.
just that's just there's magic happening in that scene, but you don't realize it as the reader in the moment. And then even up above, there's this magical trap which attacks him. That's delivered in a scroll, and he deals with it. He's a very stoic character. He's middle aged, and I'm turning 47 on Saturday, so he's basically my age. So unlike me, he's seen it all, kind of done it all. Nothing really
Mm-hmm.
knocks him off his balance, so to speak. And he has this
Mm-hmm.
crazy situation happen. He just, he smiles and realizes that his life is about to become very interesting, it seems.
Hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this
that's
print is
awesome.
something that everyone will receive with their order. That's the original Skunk masterpiece. Is what I call it.
Uh-huh.
It's such a beautiful piece of art. We went back and
Yeah.
forth for probably 2 months before we finally settled on the concept and everything, and then he spent probably the next 3 months or so working on it, and it turned out
Wow.
incredibly well. So yeah, you can see the scales, and then you can see the in the shadows of his spine. There's that face of a it's an
Mm-hmm.
oni or a devil, and that's once again to speak on the magic of the world. Um, I explore this difference between like demons, and demons are otherworldly
Mm-hmm.
powers that are really only evil, very much inspired from like The Exorcist and various
Nice.
movies with supernatural possession and horror. And then in
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
there are devils or oni, and they're these like immortal beings who exist from the first age of the world, and they're still alive today. But the order that Kintaro comes from have learned a secret of binding them. So they basically can render these devils down into ink, and then they tattoo the devils into their skin. And as you can see here, uh, it can get out.
Yeah. That's so cool. That's so interesting. Um, I'm curious because I'm a big Greek mythology fan. Do you have like deities or gods or goddesses or that sort of thing, or is this all kind of rooted in nature? Like, where is the magic rooted? I guess if that makes sense.
Is
That's so cool.
basically looks like
Mm.
Saturn insofar as it has a ring
I
about
don't
it,
know if he.
and the ring around the planet is kind of the All Father God. His name is Orin, and he uh,
Uh-huh.
Orin
Okay.
himself, and um, Inker or Kentaro, he serves one of these children of the All Father God,
Mhm.
and so the magic comes from him, but it also just comes from the world. And there's other darker powers that can provide power
Mhm.
to mortals. And I don't know if you know
That's
the.
really.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just go ahead and I'll.
Okay. I don't know if
I
you're
was just gonna say
familiar
that's
with the.
really neat. I'll let you. It's like a
Thank you.
delay.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
it's fine. I'm really inspired by this one particular creator. He's a mangaka from Japan, and his name is
Hmm.
Kentaro Miura, and he's the artist that produced the iconic Berserk series, and
Mm.
I think it's 10,000 pages plus because they're still working. His studio's carrying
Wow.
on his work, which is crazy to
Wow.
think like 10,000 like novel pages would be a lot, but they're producing 10,000 pages of manga, and like the story continues
It's
on, and
crazy.
it's super dark. But as a
Huh.
younger, more inexperienced writer, I always was trying to like push the boundaries and kind of go for like the like kind of shock and awe impact in my writing,
Mhm.
and I never knew what line to cross and not to cross. But then once I read him, I realized that the bar was set, and I kind of went, "Oh, I understand now how I'm going to tell the story and the level of darkness that I want in the story." Because I don't want it to be like a piece of nihilistic art where everything sucks and nothing ever gets good. I enjoy the happy ending, but I do enjoy putting
Mm.
my characters through the ringer, and I think that's good character
Yeah.
development for them.
Oh
Definitely
yeah.
agreed. I definitely agree with that. I myself really hate it when we don't get some resolution and like some a victorious ending. That just drives me nuts when there's not any, I don't know, any goodness in the world. Because it's actually not realistic. There are good things in the world. So anyhow, Just my
Definitely.
thought.
There's room for optimists in a world
Yeah,
full of evil villains that want to conquer everything. Whether it's
absolutely.
a thief in the street who wants to control the alley, or
Yeah,
an evil god king that wants to conquer the world.
yep,
And you need a
Wow.
hero. You need a hero to stand up to those individuals.
totally.
Oh yeah. Actually, I have another question. Since you've told us a lot about your world and how you've kind of built it and some of the in-depth details about it, I kind of want to know what inspired you to even begin your
Yeah.
journey into building this world. Like, where did you even start? Like, what was your main inspiration? What catapulted this whole thing?
Well, when I was early teen, like say 13, I started reading Forgotten Realms, specifically R.A. Salvatore and kind of the
Hmm.
Drizzt saga. But
Yep.
I got in on the very first book. I think his first trilogy was like Halfling's Gem was coming out in the year that I found
Hmm.
the Crystal Shard, which was R.A. Salvatore's first major publication. And I just loved the scope of the world and the storytelling and the grand nature of it. And I've always been one to kind of bristle when people would give you good advice, and I'd be like, I'm going to do this my way. So people would tell me, oh, if you're going to be a writer, you should probably write short stories first. And I was like, to
Yeah.
hell with you. I'm creating a world and I'm going to make a saga. So 30 plus years later,
Have you been building this world for that entire time?
of how
Oh, oh no.
times, if you're cutting the grass.
Oh,
Yes, yes. I am a survivor of world building disease, and I've come out the other. Did you catch
no,
that?
sorry, there was a big delay there.
Right. To
Kind
answer
of, but kind of not.
Little bits and pieces. Yeah.
your, where did you lose me?
For most of it, I want to say.
Yeah.
Other
Okay.
than you were a product of world building disease, or like you're a survivor
A
of that.
survivor of world building. Yes. Yeah. So when I was young, I just fell in love with that big story world, and that's what I wanted
Hmm.
to create. And when people would tell me that I should start just learning how to write a story and writing short stories, I was determined to work on this epic fantasy concept and create a giant story and a giant world. And even though I was 13 and I didn't know anything about anything, I've
Hmm.
studied history, I've studied religion, I've read a ton of books, like fiction.
Yeah.
And then it's funny actually, like 12 years ago or so, I had this kind of epiphany moment where I realized that despite all my passion and all this world building and characters I had developed, I didn't know how to tell it as a story that would be compelling. Like it would just be me spitting
Mm.
facts at people. And like I'm saying, like, and then this
Hmm.
happened, and this happened, and then this will happen, and then this world, and blah, 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 blah. But after 12 years of studying different writers and doing lots of workshops, I never went to like university or school, but I've learned a lot from different YouTubers that have
Hmm.
different analysis videos or exploring different writing concepts. There's so much on YouTube if you look for it that you can
Yeah.
learn to be a really great artist of any medium, really. So yeah, I
Hmm.
was just really stubborn as a kid and never wanted to do what people told me if it was for my own good. And I chose the hard way, kind of like everything. I used to be a chef, and I never went to school. I just worked, and then I worked and I worked until I accumulated enough hours to challenge for my ticket and get my red seal. And so now
Mm-hmm.
I am a red seal, but it's
Nice.
never the easy way. At least when I was younger. Now I try to pick my battles more. But I
I
think
definitely get.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I definitely get the resistance to outside pressure to do things in a textbook style. I tend to like to do things on my own, in my own way too, and I feel like that creates more inspiration and develops your creative brain in a way that is more unique, I guess. But
I
go on. I didn't
I
want to
agree. That's okay. It is a conversation. It's not just about me. Um,
interrupt.
I think part of what makes the good a great artist, which is kind of my goal. I really do want to try to create something that is great. Is going through
Hmm.
hardship, because if everything is easy, I don't think you're really going to be able to create something that will last. Like if you look at the great writers like T.S. Eliot and Tolkien, like these guys went through World War One,
Hmm.
so they actually understood true hardship and had seen horrible things. Whereas in the modern storytelling world, you have a lot of people that get a job in Hollywood at like 21, 22, and they're getting
Right.
$100,000 a year to start, and now they're going to tell you what good story is. And it's like I don't think you
Yeah.
really know
Yeah.
what suffering is.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm
Agreed.
like I've lived a life that is full of all kinds of different experiences, and just the storytelling
Hmm.
journey. I've had the ups and downs of like why am I doing this when
Hmm.
there's no payoff, and then
Right.
just recently, like I was very much into my my focus in finding joy in the craft, but I came across Rick Rubin, who's like a music producer, but he's
Hmm.
generally an artist, and he has so many great quotes in his book that he's written. I forget what it's called. It's like on like be creative or something creative, and it's just finding success in the completion of the task, and then after
Yeah.
that, everything else is just kind of a bonus. So that's how where
Hmm.
I'm at right now. I'm so satisfied that Anchor is actually 100% complete. I have this book done. If it sells 10 copies, I'll be thrilled. If it sells, and I've already sold more than 10 copies, so even better. And you know, if it sells
Hmm.
10,000 copies, sweet. And all the while,
Yeah.
I've got a creative process where I'm writing every day and I'm producing the story that I've been dreaming about and working on for my entire adult life. And it's,
Hmm.
you know, like I have succeeded. Now it's just a matter of producing it so that the world can enjoy it. And in all honesty, like even if I had 100 people who were following along the trials of gods and men and like giving me thumbs up and appreciating the story that I'm producing, I'd be quite happy with that. Obviously, you know, you see J.K. Rowling and her incredible success, and every other not even like major creators like say a George R. R. Martin, but just people that have a story that people want to follow. And I think that as I produce the story on my Substack, where it's getting that monthly release or bi-weekly release, and people are getting like 5,000 words or maybe 10,000 words, depending on what I'm releasing in the schedule outside of like producing it as novels. I think there'll be some
Mhm.
real excitement about it, and it'll start gaining traction. And Inker is just the beginning, and really,
Hmm.
um, it's a success. It's a major success for me, and I'm very proud of how well it's turned out. And I found a really great joy in collaborating with these artists that helped me make it happen because they're all much more experienced in this than I am. Like, you know, I walk around with this story in between my ears, but getting it
Hmm.
out onto the paper is the challenge. So once I did the
Mhm.
script and then I started to actually see the characters becoming real, right? To actually see Kentaro and to see
Hmm.
Kothon, which is the name of the devil that lives in his skin, And like when I remember waiting with anticipation when my artist was working on that batch of pages, and then he sent me like the rough pencils, and that in and of itself, I was like, oh my god, it's real. And I'm really looking forward to like the next major character that's going to be introduced in the novels. His name is Dawson, and he has lived with me since I was 18. So like
Wow.
over 30 plus years, over 30 years basically. And when I finally see the image of him, because he's in my head and he's crystal clear, but when I actually have like him on the book cover, and he's really cool. He's kind of a shamanic hero. So he has a totem that's a falcon. It's called the Blackstone Falcon. So it's all black, like midnight black. Like it looks like a raven, but it's a falcon. And when I see him standing on the rock, gazing out with kind of that classic epic fantasy novel cover, and the falcon on his shoulder, and they're gazing into the distance, like that's going to be a major moment for me. Anchor is amazing, but that other guy is he's lived my life with me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I can relate to that feeling. I mean, my comic book series, Number Two Pencil Man, like I developed it for a couple years in my mind, and then seeing the whole process come to life, it's just like it's unreal, man. And when you just it's yeah, you're right. It's an absolute success that you were able to complete the first project, like getting it out there in the first story form, like that is a huge thing. So, congratulations on that. That is a huge achievement, and I'm excited to see and follow the rest of your world because it's already sounding so interesting, so intricate, so very well developed. And that is one thing that I've noticed with like the good world builders out there. When they take the time to really develop a world, the stories that take place in it are just that much more powerful, more
Yeah.
detailed. There's more to it, and I'm excited to see how all the novels build upon your legacy of this world and just even leave an impact on our world. Like that's going to be incredible.
Definitely.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate that. I feel like as you said, like the best, especially fantasy writers, because it's one thing to write a story on planet Earth. It's very easy to say, like, I'm in Times Square. Everybody has an image, right, of what that means, or the pyramids, or whatever it may be. But to create
Mm-hmm.
something new that
Yeah.
really connects to the reader. Like Tolkien, obviously, is kind of the grandfather of it, or Dune. Dune
Mm-hmm.
is another. He's actually Frank
Mm.
Herbert is actually probably from
Yeah.
like the just the way he writes a story is one of my biggest influences because I love the multi perspective
Yeah.
storytelling. His is kind of over the top sometimes. I haven't read the books beyond the first one. I understand that those go like absolutely bonkers. So I'm only
Mm.
basing it off of the first Dune book, but he's a big
Which is
inspiration.
amazing.
Right? It's a
So
masterpiece in its
good.
own right.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I love lots of characters. I love a big world and lots of magic, and but not just any magic. I don't want something that's um, stereotypical. Like there will certainly be
Mm-hmm.
tropes in my story, but I am trying to subvert them
Mm.
with as much leverage as I can
Yeah.
possibly get. I want them flinging off into the universe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I I'm one of those people that really I myself overcomplicate everything when I create things, and so I tend to like creators who do the same because I think there's more intricacy and more originality in that. I mean, I think when you're really diving deep into the characters and diving deep into the stories, and I don't know, it just really captures me. So it very much has me very intrigued. I'd like to read it. I'm definitely going to be following.
Oh yeah. Um, John, you went over a lot about your world, your graphic novel, what your plans are for the world after this graphic novel. You showed us an epic video. I gotta ask one final question, and that is, where can everybody find you and how can they fund this amazing project?
For the project, it's on Fund My Comic, search Anchor, and insofar as finding me, whether it's on YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram, just search for Pick Up the Sword Studio, and you will find me. And like and subscribe to all that. My YouTube is not super up and running yet. I have a couple of book reviews of other indie creators' comics, but that's going to be something I'm going to start growing once the fall comes around and I kind of get back to a normal schedule when the kids aren't in school. And I'm
Hmm.
I got
hoping
a
to
comic you can review.
super.
Two,
Uh,
actually.
awesome. I'd love
Oh,
to check them out. I also want to do interviews, kind of like what you guys are doing. I really
nice.
enjoy meeting people and especially creatives and talking to them and getting to
Yeah.
know them, and it's obviously exploring their own creative endeavors. I really enjoy the community that I've been able to start developing in with other creatives, and it's it feeds the soul
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're one of them,
Right.
as you guys know.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the things I love most about hosting this podcast is we get to meet so many amazing creatives. Like there's so many, and each one is so different. Like I can talk to 10 indie comic creators, and each one has a different style, different story, and it's always fresh, always interesting. And then on top of that, I walk out with like 10 new best friends that I'm like, hey, and shout out to my best friend Frey, who's not with us tonight, but no one's ever going to take your place, man. Don't worry about that. But it's just like it's amazing. Like the community of people in the indie circles, they're so nice, so open, and honestly, we're so open to like working with each other, and it's the best thing ever. So I totally get
Definitely.
what you're saying. And for our audience out there, definitely check out John. Go follow his YouTube, his Instagram, fund his comic. Like it is incredibly detailed. It is fantastically beautiful
Yeah.
in many different ways. He's very passionate about it, and that's what we want to support. So definitely go check him out. And before we get into the ending things, Rachel, do you have any updates on any of your creative things?
Well, I think I say the same thing every week, but you can check out the first chapter of my novel, which will be up whenever it's done. I'm not going to give a deadline at this point. But it's Goddess of War, and check out my first chapter at elegantbomb.com. You can check out my music at andromeda the artist.com.
Yeah, we're getting very excited for that book.
Yeah,
And
me too.
yeah, we can't wait. We're gonna have a party when it releases. We're gonna do a whole episode dedicated to the novel. It's
Yep.
gonna be great. So, I'm Tanner, and you can find me at Tanner's Tales Entertainment or Number Two Pencil Man. I have exciting news. I just right before this episode hit the buy button on 53 copies of issue 2 of Number Two Pencil Man, which is finally complete. So once I get that in hand, we'll have that. So that'll be available very soon. My children's book is next up on the block. We are working on formatting that, and as soon as that's done, I will also have that published, probably through Amazon. And again, I'll keep you guys posted on all that. So that's all the updates I have. Before we wrap it up, just our closing words as always. If you enjoy Indie Synergy Exchange, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Helps us to build this platform for other indie creators. We really want to get indie creators into the spotlight, help them get their creations out to the world. Because, like I said, indie has a lot to offer. There is so much you can do with it, so much just amazingness, and we just want to share it with all of you guys. So please consider giving us that support, help us grow this. And if you are an indie creator out there and you want to be on the podcast, and again, indie creator of any kind, we've had clowns on the show, we've had a doctor of psychology, we've had comic book creators, a small business, we've had poets, authors, you name it, it's going to be on the show at some point. So you could be the first one of a new genre of indie creation. So definitely hit us up. We want to have you on the show. We want to get you out there, expose you to a greater audience as much as we're able to do. And we can only do that with your support. So definitely check us out. If you're enjoying it all, you can follow us on our socials at Dreamscape Empyrean. That is our Core 4 group name. And we also just post most of our content through that page anyway. So That's our YouTube channel, our Instagram, our Facebook, and you can even email us through dreamscapeempyrean@gmail.com. So that's where you can find us. And this has been another amazing episode. John, thank you again so much for being here. And until next time, guys, this has been Indie Synergy Exchange, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.